All praises to the Most High. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. And I'm going to do this lesson when we act righteous. And I'm going to start at Exodus 34, and I'm going to read verse 6 through 7. And it reads, "And the Lord passed by before him and proclaimed the Lord Yahweh, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children, unto the third and to the fourth generation." So this was, this goes back to the blessings and the curses that God gave through Moses, saying that if we did all the laws, statutes, and commandments, we would be blessed. But going against those laws, we would be cursed, and it would follow all of our children from the third and fourth generations. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 18. Ezekiel 18. And I'm going to read verse 21 through 23. And it reads, "But if the wicked will turn from all his sins that he hath committed, and keep all my statutes, and do that which is lawful and right, he shall surely live, he shall not die." Verse 22, "All his transgressions that he hath committed, they should not be mentioned unto him. In his righteousness that he hath done, he shall live." Verse 23, "Have I any pleasure at all that the wicked should die, saith the Lord Yahweh, and not that he should return from his ways and live?" So the Lord is letting us know that it's all according to our ways and according to the fruit of our own doings. If we be obedient to what he says in the Bible, then we're going to live. But if we go contrary to these laws, then we'll die. And I'm going to stay in chapter 18, jump down to verse 27, and it reads, "Again, when the wicked man turneth away from his wickedness that he hath committed, and doeth that which is lawful and right, he shall save his soul alive." So even if you have made some mistakes, even if you have stumbled and fell, you can pick yourself up, repent, and be converted and change. And then the Lord, he'll pardon you from those sins. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of James. The book of James. I could just pass it. James chapter 1 and verse 12. And that reads, "Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life which the Lord has promised to them that love him." So being obedient, steadfast, and running this race with endurance, you're going to receive the crown of life that Yahweh has promised to those that love him. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Job. The book of Job. And I'm going to read from chapter 4, verse 7 through 9. And that reads, it says, "Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off?" So Job is starting this verse here, saying, whoever perished from being innocent, and where were the righteous cut off? Verse 8, "Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same." Verse 9, "By the blast of Yahweh they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils they are consumed." So he's letting us know it's according to our ways. If we're doing the things that are right, we'll be safe and we'll save our soul alive. But if we're doing the things that are against what Yahweh laid down, then we'll perish. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Genesis, chapter 18. Genesis 18, and I'm going to read 23, verse 23 and verse 25. Genesis 18, verse 23 and 25. And it reads, And Abraham drew near and said, Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? So Abraham was asking the Most High. And verse 25 reads, That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? So he's saying, who's ever doing the wickedness, that's who's going to be destroyed. He's going to always be our shield and our buckler to the ones that are being obedient to what he says. But if you're righteous, that goes with how he'll come and separate sheep from the goats. Because the Lord already knows those who are his, and he knows everything we're doing. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Sirach in the Apocrypha. Book of Sirach, and let me get there, Shalakia. Also known Ecclesiasticus or Sirach. And I'm going to read from chapter 2, and I'm going to read verse 10 and 11. And it reads, Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? So the Lord, he never left us nor forsake us. He's going back to the times of old when our people were doing what was right. He didn't leave them nor forsake them. And he didn't despise them. He didn't hate them. He only hated the wicked people. This is what this is saying. Verse 11, For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long-suffering, and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins, and saveth in time of affliction. So anytime our people were going through something that were doing right, he was always their protector. He was their shield and their buckler, their fortress and a refuge. He was a very present help in a time of trouble. This one here in Sirach sounds like what Moses was saying, that he's long suffering, but he'll visit the iniquities of the sinners from the third and fourth generation, but he always protected the righteous. And from there, I'm going to stay in the book of Sirach. I'm going to go to chapter 33, and I'm going to read verse 1, and that reads, There shall no evil happen unto him that feareth the Lord Yahweh, but in temptation, even again, he will deliver him. So this is promises to the people that are obedient. He's going to deliver you from all troubles. And from there, I'm going to go to chapter 34, one chapter over, and I'm going to read verse 16, and it reads, For the eyes of the Lord are upon them that love him. He is their mighty protection, and strong stay, a defense from heat, and a cover from the sun at noon, Shalakia, a preservation from stumbling and a help from falling. Because he's always going to be there watching over us. He's going to guide us into all truth. He's going to be our shield, our buckler. And even if you fall, he says he's going to help you get up. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of 2 Peter. Book of 2 Peter. Shalakia. Going too far in. Let's see. 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. And that reads, The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment, to be punished. So this goes with even society saying how every dog has his day. Well, the Lord has a day appointed to all the wicked. So we are being monitored, we're being seen, we're being recorded, because the eyes of the Lord is 10,000 times brighter than the sun. So he's seeing everything that we're doing. So if you're not doing right, he has a day appointed for you. And from there, I'm going to go back to the book of Sirach. Book of Sirach. And I'm going to read from chapter 2, verse 1 and 2. And it says, Shalakia, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. So he's letting us know it's not going to always be easy. We're going to have to go through some affliction, through the fiery furnace, but that's him building us up. Verse 2, set thy heart aright, set your mind right, and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. So he's telling us to continue just running this race and to know that he's going to be with you. And from there, I'm going to go to Psalms chapter 18. Psalms chapter 18. Psalms chapter 18. And I'm going to read verse 20. Verse 23 to 26. And it reads, I was also upright before him, and I kept myself from mine iniquity. This was David, the king of Israel. Therefore hath the Lord recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands in his eyesight. Because he's watching. He's watching everything. And this goes with the prophet Jeremiah said how we're going to be judged according to our ways and according to the fruit of our own doings. And verse 25, it reads, with the merciful, thou wilt show thyself merciful. With an upright man, thou wilt show thyself upright. Verse 26, with the pure, thou wilt show thyself pure. And with thy froward, thou wilt show thyself froward. So it's according to how our people want to do it. You're going to get it the way you live it, like they say in this society. Whichever way you're doing it, the kind of, whatever kind of seeds you're sowing out there, this is the kind of harvest you're going to receive when he comes around to judge. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Judith, chapter 5, in the Apocrypha. Judith chapter 5, and I'm going to read verse 17, and it reads, and while they sinned not before their God, Yahweh, they prospered, because the God that hateth iniquity was with them. So whenever we were obedient to what he said in the scriptures, we prospered, because the Lord Yahweh was always with us. And from there, I'm going to jump down to verse 20 and 21. Now, therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their God, Yahweh, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. So these are the other nations that were talking against us, saying that we can keep them in sin, keep them in that folly, keep them disobedient to what God told them, then we're going to be ruling over the top of them. This is what Judith was saying. And these other nations, they knew it. Esau, Ammon, the Japanese, Moab, the Chinese, Ham, the Africans, all these people were coming against us. The Elamites, the East Indians, all of them knew this. And then verse 21 reads, but if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them and their God before them, and we become a reproach before all the world. Because they knew that they were going to be beneath us. This is why they like to keep our people eating crab, shrimp, lobster, pork, all these things, and going out on the Sabbath and buy, selling, and trading, lighting fires. This is why they want our people to do it, because it keeps them ruling over the top of us. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and I'm going to read verse 7 through 10. And that reads, Deuteronomy 28, verse 7 through 10. And it reads, the Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways. So if we're doing what the Lord says, he's going to, he said in Chronicles, the battle isn't ours, it's the Lord's. He'll fight our battles for us. Verse 8, the Lord shall command the blessing upon thee, in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto. And he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. So we would be blessed. We be obedient. Verse 9, the Lord shall establish thee an holy people, a separate people, unto himself, as he has sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways. So we have to walk as Yahushua walked. We have to do the things that he did. He stayed obedient. Verse 10, and all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by thy name, Shalakia, thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. And that's the people, they are afraid of us, these other heathens. A lot of them are. That's why when they see you walking by and they'll lock their car doors, they see you in the elevators, they're always moving away from you. They see you walking down the street, they'll cross, go another direction, because they've always been afraid of us. But right now, they've just been in their rulership because they got the power of the sword. That blessing that Isaac gave them, they got the blessing of the sword. Their guns, the military might, and all those things. But the Lord is going to take them out from that power seat, as long as our people do what he says in the scriptures. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Job. Book of Job, chapter 5. Job, chapter 5, verse 17 through 24. And it reads, behold, happy is the man whom God corrected. Therefore despise not thou the chastening of the Almighty. He said, don't hate when the Lord is correcting you. Verse 18, for he maketh sore and bindeth up. He woundeth, and his hands make whole. He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles, yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch thee. Because that 7 is the number of completion. Verse 20, in famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword. Verse 21, thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue, neither shalt thou be afraid of destruction when it cometh. So he's always going to be your shield and buckler. At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth, all these other wicked people that are against us. And we don't need to worry about if we become pilgrims on the earth, he's going to still watch over us amongst the wild beasts. Shalaki, excuse me. For thou shalt be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with thee. Even all the animals he made, because he controls them. He puts the spirit on the animals when they attack someone. And thou shalt know that thy tabernacle shall be in peace, and thou shalt visit thy habitation and shall not sin. So we're going to be okay if we continue being obedient to what the Lord said. And from there, I'm going to go back to the Apocrypha. I'm going to go to the book of 2nd Esdras. 2nd Esdras, chapter 7, and I'm going to read verse 6 to 14, and it reads, there is also another thing, a city is builded, and set upon a broad field, and is full of all good things. This is talking about the New Jerusalem, the kingdom. Verse 7, the entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water. So this is talking about how Christ said in Matthew, narrow is the gate, or straight is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction. And many people will take that broad road. But the gate that leads to life, it's narrow, and only a few are going to find it. Verse 8, and one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once, because we have to reach for our own salvation, like Peter said, with fear and trembling. And we can only do it individually. We can't save the next person. Verse 9, if this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance? So we're going to have to carry our cross. Like Christ, he had to carry his cross through Jerusalem. So we're going to have to go through some things to get to the kingdom. It's not going to always be easy. Verse 10, and I said, it is so, Lord. Then said he unto me, even so also is Israel's portion. This is our lot. Verse 11, because for their sakes I made the world. And when Adam transgressed my statutes, then was decreed that now is done. So because of when he gave Adam the law, statutes, and commandments from the beginning, he blew in him the breath of life, which was the law, statutes, and commandments. And then when he turned in sin, then death came in. Verse 12, then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow and travail. They are but few and evil, full of perils and very painful. That's why we're going through all these afflictions. And we have to deal with all the things in this society now because of what our forefathers did. Verse 13, for the entrances of the elders' world were wide and sure, and brought immortal fruit. Because some of them, like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, they were being obedient. And they were bringing forth fruit. That's why Christ said, he says, you have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and appointed you that you should go out and bear fruit, and that your fruit remain. Yahweh was saying this in the book of John, chapter 15. Verse 14, if then they that live labor not to enter these straight and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. So he says, if you can't, you have to be obedient, and you have to carry your cross, you have to do the things he says, but if you don't go through some things, then you're not going to make it to the kingdom. So you're going to have to carry your cross and endure, run the race. You got to stay steadfast, not look back. You got to continue on, and then you're going to get it. And from there, I'm going to just jump down to verse 18 to 24, and that reads, nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things, and hope for wide. For they that have done wickedly have suffered the straight things, and yet shall not see the wide. So even though these sinners that are doing and prospering right now, they're not going to the kingdom because they're in sin. That's what Solomon was saying. He says, a lot of the people, they continue on because a sentence against an evil work has not always been executed speedily. Therefore, it is in the hearts of men for them to do evil. But he's also said it's not going to go well for the sinners. Same thing that Ezra is saying in this precept. And in verse 19, it reads, and he said unto me, there is no judge above God Yahweh, and none that hath understanding above the highest. So he's the only judge. Verse 20, for there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the law of God Yahweh that is set before them. So that's why they're dying. That's why you keep hearing about people dying, because they're concerning our people is Yasharallah, Israel, because they don't want to do what God says. Verse 21, for God hath given straight commandments to such as come, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. So he's making it crystal clear why they're going through their problems. Verse 22, nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him, but spake against him, and imagined vain thoughts. Shalakia, imagine vain things. So this is why they're going through their problems, because they don't want to listen to what he said. He gave us straight commandments. Verse 23, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds. How they're living. They want to live contrary to what God said. This is why they're going through it. And said of the Most High, Yahweh, that he is not, and knew not his ways. So they're throwing all his laws in the trash, because the Sunday churches, they're saying, all God's laws are done away with. But that's not what the Bible is saying. Verse 24, but his law have they despised. Here it is. This is about the laws. They despise. They hate the laws. And denied his covenants and his statutes, have they not been faithful. It says they haven't been faithful with the law, statutes, and commandments, and have not performed his works. So this is crystal clear. Why are people been going through it? And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Sirach, which is also Ecclesiasticus and the Apocrypha. And I'm going to read from chapter 39. I'm going to close after this one. And I'm going to start at verse 24. And I'm going to read down to 35. And it reads, As his ways are plain unto the holy, so are they stumbling blocks unto the wicked. Because this Yahushua was that rock that made them stumble. He was the rock that made them fall because they didn't want to do what he was saying. Because Yahushua was the law in the flesh. Verse 25, for the good are good things created from the beginning. So evil things are for sinners. So they're choosing death, like Jeremiah said, and death shall be chosen rather than life. Verse 26, the principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil and clothing. And just like Paul was saying in Acts, we should be content with food, shelter, and raiment. He was really touching on all these things, to be therefore content. 27, all these things are for good to the godly, so to the sinners they are turned into evil. 28, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Now he's talking about these animals. If a shark bites someone in the ocean or a bear rips someone apart up in the woods, he puts the spirit on them to do it. It says, verse 29, fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Remember, he said in Hebrews, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. I'll repay. This is what he said. Verse 30, teeth of wild beasts. See, when an animal attacks or a dog bites someone, it's him doing that. And scorpions, serpents, and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. 31, they shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is. And when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word. So when he puts the spirit on them to do it, they're not going to resist what Yahweh tells them. They're going to go and bite that person or rip them apart, those animals, because he's the one that's sending them. 32, therefore from the beginning I was resolved and thought upon these things, and have left them in writing. So Sirach, he had to ponder on this, like, wow, I can't understand God's ways, because he's so infinite, his wisdom is infinite. It's out of this world. So he left them in writing, and then he said, verse 33, all the works of the Lord are good, and he will give every needful thing in due season, because he's about just weights and balance. Verse 34, so that a man cannot say this is worse than that. So it's according to your ways or according to the fruit of your own doings. For in time they shall all be well approved. He's going to take care of everybody. It's just the kind of seeds you plant. It's your choice. Like Joshua said, we have to choose ye this day as to whom we're going to serve. But as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord, Yahweh. Verse 35, and therefore praise ye the Lord with the whole heart and mouth, and bless the name of the Lord. So this is what we should do. We should be thankful and count it all joy, no matter what we're going through, as long as we're being obedient. Just count it all joy. And with that, I'm going to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, HaMashiach, Yahweh Shai, Shalom.